Greetings and bienvenue, midnight crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
The Maryland Goatman legend. The Maryland Goatman is described as a hybrid creature, part man and part goat. According to those who claim to have seen it, the legs and feet resemble that of a goat, the upper body of a man with a horned head, and a body partially covered by fur. A height is generally described at 7 to 8 feet and a weight at 300 to 350 pounds. Below are a few of the documented sightings. June 1963, Huntington, Maryland. A young couple were walking on Zug Road when they observed a peculiar creature staring at them from the edge of the woods. The woman described it as a tall, ragged animal with human-like features. April 1971, Huntington, Maryland. A farmer near Fletchertown Road reported seeing a large, man-like creature eating the remains of a pig. When the farmer approached the scene, the creature ran off. September 1976, Woodmore, Maryland. A landscaper at the Woodmore Country Club finds unidentified remains on the golf course, near Lotsford Road. While attempting to dispose of them, he hears a low growl. As he looks up and observes a large, unknown animal. October 1985, Glendale, Maryland. Police respond to a report of teenagers making noise at the old Glendale Hospital site. While investigating, the officer hears unknown sounds, but is unable to locate the source. August 1990, Hyattsville, Maryland. During a birthday party at Magruder Park, a boy runs into the woods after a ball. Moments later, he screams. When adults arrive, they find him visibly shaken. The boy tells his mother, "It was the dark thing with the red eyes who stands in the corner of my room at night." May 1998, Bowie, Maryland. A group of teenagers are hanging out near a local bridge when they notice something moving in the weeds nearby. Two of the teens go to investigate and describe seeing a tall, human-like animal running into the forest. July 2007, Glenarden, Maryland. A camera crew for WRC-TV, Washington, D.C., is on location to cover a local golf tournament when they notice a strange animal moving in the trees nearby. The cameraman manages to capture a few seconds of video before the animal disappears. It is often associated with a number of locations throughout Prince George's County, Maryland. Listed above, including Glendale Hospital, the former site of a state tuberculosis sanatorium. It is reported to have attacked and possibly killed a number of witnesses. It had also been connected to damaged property and the deaths of several family pets. The Piscataway Native people believed a magical creature in the same area in Maryland had the ability to shape-shift into various animals' forms. This was noted and written in 1666 by a Jesuit priest, in which the illustration of a Bigfoot-like creature standing on two legs appeared in the document. The sightings began in 1957 when a young couple were parked alone a lonely country road, Zug Road, when they suddenly heard something banging on the hood of their car. Looking up, they were startled to see a goat-like humanoid staring at them, waving what looked like an axe. The creature instantly turned and dashed into the surrounding woods. There were several more rumored sightings over years. Then in the summer of 1962, the Goat Man was accused of killing 14 people, including 12 children and 2 accompanying adults, who had been hiking too close to its apparent lair. The survivors, who, not surprisingly, remained anonymous, claimed that the Goat Man violently hacked its victims with an axe, while uttering horrid screams. According to the account, when the local authorities arrived on the scene, all that was left in the carnage were half-eaten limbs and a bloody trail leading to an ominous-looking cave. By the way, the Prince George County and Maryland State Police have no written record of this incident. It was obviously a ruse and urban legend. Then in 1970, a woman heard her pet dog barking wildly outside. Peering through a window, she saw the shadowy figure of the creature moving about where the dog was tied up. Being too afraid to go outside in the dark, she decided to remain in the house. The next morning, she discovered that the dog had been decapitated. In the November 10, 1971 edition of the Prince George's County News, the headline on the front page declared, "Residents fear Goatman lives, dog found decapitated in Old Bowie," with a photo of the remains of the mutilated pet. The canine belonged to April Edwards and had disappeared after she and friends had reported hearing strange noises in their yard on the night of November 3, 1971. When they went to investigate, they saw a large creature moving in the dark. The article also stated that reports of an animal-like creature that walks on its hind legs had been seen by other residents in the area. The Prince George's County News coverage of the Goatman ended with one last front-page story on November 24, 1971. It focused on Mrs. Evelyn Johnson, who lived on Fletchertown Road, and mentioned the trouble and harassment she and other neighbors received from Goatman hunters. This included an incident where the road was blocked off by 2 cars and 1 truckload of people who claimed they had the creature trapped. Mrs. Johnson had to call the police in order to drive home. So, what are the actual origins of the Maryland Goatman? Some reports involve escaped mental patients and others satanic rituals, but the most popular legend is that the Goatman is the unfortunate result of an experiment involving one Dr. Stephen Fletcher that went horribly wrong at his U.S. Department of Agriculture laboratory in Beltsville. The doctor confessed to creating the Goatman by crossing the DNA of a goat and his assistant William Lotsford, but the experiment went terribly awry and the result was the genetic nightmare. It's obviously a manufactured tale, but there are many people who claim that this scenario is valid. Many of these Goatman sightings and reports closely correlate to Bigfoot sightings that have been reported in the same general area of Maryland for generations, including the numerous property attacks by the Sykesville Monster in the early 1970s. Bigfoot-related sightings continue throughout Maryland and the surrounding states. In my opinion, the Goatman is simply an urban legend though. A Bigfoot or any other cryptid hominid with an axe would be a life-altering event.
Legends and tales of pig people have been around for centuries. Most of the older stories come from the United Kingdom, but America has had its share. One of these stories revolves around the alleged Pigman of Northfield, Vermont. It's a local yarn that has been repeated since the early 1950s, but interesting nonetheless. I've included someone's personal account that made the rounds on the internet a few years ago. My family lived in Vermont for a number of years, in a small town called Northfield, south of Montpelier. There's a local legend in Northfield, of a thing known as the Pigman. The story has multiple versions, as most do, but there are some parts that are always the same. Back in 1951, the night before Halloween, this 17-year-old kid named Sam Harris went out on his own with a basket of eggs to cause some mischief. Nobody knows exactly what happened to him, just that he never came home and was never found. Years later, some high school kids were out drinking behind the school one night during a dance when this thing came walking out of the woods on 2 human legs. It was naked, covered in white hair, and was wearing a hollowed-out pig's head like some grotesque mask. Naturally, the kids tore out of there and went and told people. Word spread, and some farmer admitted he'd seen a figure matching that description digging through his garbage one night. Some pigs had also gone missing recently. More sightings were made of the Pigman, as it became known, but many times the claims were just kids wanting to get attention. Now, whether this thing is Sam Harris or this thing ate Sam Harris, nobody in town knows for sure. But what they do know is that it isn't afraid of people, and it really likes to eat meat. There's a place just outside of Northfield known as the Devil's Washbowl, with a river and waterfalls and a number of caves. After more sightings of the Pigman were made out by the washbowl, some people went investigating and found that one cave in particular was littered with animal bones, some of which were pig. It got around that they'd found the lair of the Pigman, and it became popular for teens to go out to the Devil's Washbowl at night and try to catch a sight of him. My sister and a couple of her friends went out to the Devil's Washbowl their senior year. They took sleeping bags and flashlights and all the gear you'd take to go camping. I wasn't there to give a first-hand account of what transpired, I was only 8 at the time. I can only tell you what was told to me. There were 6 or 8 of them, depending on who you ask, all couples. They picked a number of caves, one for each pair. My sister and her boyfriend were in their cave. She was rolling out their sleeping bags and he was trying to start a fire when they heard some shouts and then screaming from one of the other caves. When they got there, the girl was curled up in a ball in the farthest corner of the cave, and her boyfriend was nowhere to be found. She told them that the Pigman had come trudging into their cave, completely undaunted by their presence. The guy had started shouting at it, both to drive it away and to get the others' attention. The Pigman casually picked up a large rock and struck the guy in the side of the head with it, knocking him unconscious. It picked him up, slung him over its shoulder and shambled out of the cave just moments before the rest arrived. Nobody had seen it exit the cave, nor seen signs of it at all. They did find the rock lying on the cave floor with blood on it, and bare footprints in some soft creek mud outside. The girls all drove into town and went straight to the police. The remaining boys, whether it was 2 or 3 of them, grabbed flashlights and makeshift weapons and scoured the woods around the area. The footprints disappeared at the edge of the road, and they lost the trail there. Search parties were set up. Police and K-9 units and a big coordinated effort including several other adjoining townships' police forces. A couple days later, some articles of the guy's clothes were found by a search dog. They had been left torn and scattered in an abandoned farmhouse a town over. The missing teen's photo was put up in the area, and one guy came forward. He said the other night, he'd awakened to the sound of someone lurking outside his house. He checked out his kitchen window and there was someone rummaging through the trash can by his garage. The person was only wearing a faded and ripped pair of jeans. When the man hit the porch light, the intruder had looked up, and it had looked just like the kid in the photo. The only difference was that his body was covered with white hair and his eyes looked kind of hollow.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.